Hey, hey, hey. I am really excited to come on here and share today some things that I've been getting. But before I can share, unfortunately, Facebook has changed the way you're allowed to share videos. So if you have a group, you have to either use their platform. You can't use StreamYard or anything like that. So I'm going to share in the group so that everybody can participate here. I want to share this on several platforms because I believe, we really need uh, to talk about some of these things that we're going to be talking about today. And so I'll just kind of give a minute here and allow people to come in. Um, I'm doing better, by the way, for those of you that are asking, how's your back? I strained my back at work and pulled a big muscle on my lower back, the most painful thing I've ever experienced. I thought for sure I had severed my spine. Of course, I'm dramatic, but what's amazing is I'm feeling better. Everybody started sending frequencies my way, and it's been amazing. And so we've been really just experiencing a lot of breakthrough in many areas in the way in which we perceive the journey. And that's what we're going to talk about today: stages of deconstruction to reconstruction, and the dialogue between higher self and the avatar. And I could have put this on the Patreon group, but I felt like, there is a lot of people right now going through this, and I want to make this available for everyone. Okay. We do have information here if you'd like to join our Patreon, and I encourage people to join before November, especially if you have an Apple phone. They're going to charge you 30% more than what we're charging, which is $14.99 a month. And it's all the exclusive content that you're not going to get on Facebook or YouTube. A lot of the deep stuff that I'm not going to put out there to the general public because they're just not ready for the disclosure. And so on this one, and I actually was inspired today to respond to one of Sean's posts. And it was a really good point. And so I kind of wrote some things down about different levels or different stages that I myself personally have walked through in my deconstruction process. Now I know that word deconstruction it's gotten twisted into a whole bunch of things, but we're constantly deconstructing. It's anytime we come up with an idea that we think is the ultimate idea, and then as we're living it out, we realize it needs to be tweaked, upgraded, downgraded, removed altogether, what have you. So we're doing that in many different areas of our life. But the deconstruction that we're going through right now in our journey is a very extreme deconstruction because it's the ending of a lot of karmic contracts and the time to wake up out of the great experiment of the matrix. And so it's driving people batty. It's making them feel insecure, like they're losing reality, like they're nuts. What's wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong with you. You're going to go through all kinds of stages, very similar to the grief stages when you lose someone or somebody dies. Even though death is an illusion, our humanity still sees it as an actual event and a reality. And so we will go through grieving processes, and we do the very same thing when it comes to stages of deconstruction to reconstruction. Okay. And so I'm just going to go over some of these stages here. And from my own personal journey, it's been 10 stages so far. And I'm in different, all of those are happening at the same time. So it's not like you just graduate completely from one stage and you're in the next. What you'll do is you'll come into an enlightenment and an enablement to shift over into the next stage of your ascension, if you want to call it that, and you're waking up. And as you are moving into these stages, you'll find that you're still working on the previous stages in different areas. But as you begin to get engulfed in the next stage, the previous stage begins to come into alignment, if that makes any sense. So don't feel like you're got to be on a specific stage here, because all the stages are valid, and no matter where you're at, it doesn't matter where you're at on those stages. The key here is understanding that you are on a stage and where you're headed next, so that you can rest and let go of the need to try to figure out what is yet to be revealed. Okay. And so I'm just off of this comment I put on Sean's post, and just to kind of give clarity, his post. Let me see if I can get to his post here. His post was really good. So I'm actually going to read that. This is in our Life Imagined group. If you haven't checked out our Facebook group, Life Imagined, go check it out. And so let me just read what he says. He's talking about deconstruction. He says, one aspect of deconstruction that I find difficult is the painful experience that often accompanies the journey of self discovery. In their previous faith, many people were caring and compassionate. However, it seems that as they navigate their deconstruction, there's an attitude that discourages support for those struggling, as if the process of learning to become like God must be done in isolation. There are statements like, whatever happens in your life is your own fault, okay, which can leave individuals feeling even more isolated during this challenging time. As we move from traditional religious beliefs, we come to understand ourselves as the creators of our own experience. Now, to skip down, despite the profound message of our interconnectedness and oneness, some may become self-absorbed and lack compassion. And so basically what he's talking about here is, why is it that the more we deconstruct, the more we seem to be, this is my truth, and I'm standing on it, and we seem to have lost some of our compassion with deconstruction. And I want to address that, because this is something that's really, really important. And one of the things I want to let people know is, quit trying to change what you're feeling. Feel it. In religion, we were never validated to feel anything. So, again, back to some of the things I've been sharing about self-regulation. We were born into a world where families did not know how to mirror back the right emotional response when we weren't able to understand what we were feeling. And so because of that, we've not been able to self-regulate at multiple levels of our emotional experience and our personal view of ourselves. And so when we can't self-regulate, we are going to be immediately drawn to a savior complex, a God outside of ourselves, a heavenly father to talk us down or to hold us back from going insane or freaking out or hurting somebody because we can't self-regulate. And so we're trying to self-regulate in grounding, to ground in nature and so on and so forth. And even though that has a whole bunch of benefits, we have to understand that the only reason we need to ground is because we cannot self-regulate, okay? Because we haven't, and this isn't something that is in your mind. This isn't a mindset. This is memory caught in your nervous system, in your body. It was mirrored to you emotionally before you had an intellect to understand what was going on. Hey, Serena, I'm so glad you're here. And so I really feel like this is something a lot of us have been going through. And yes, we did go through it by ourselves at the beginning of this. And I'm going to tell you why that was so important. But now it's no longer required. We have enough people awake to create an atmosphere of safety for those that are now waking up, that they don't have to go through what many of those who foreran went through. Okay. And so, yes, there are still pioneers and forerunners. And so, when we start thinking about these different aspects, and I'm going to read you what I responded in this post, because I really feel like, if we understand that when we start to deconstruct and we realize we've been scammed, we are not going to go into a group and listen to anything they have to say. We are going to go by ourselves and have critical thinking. And even though we might be offended, we might be struggling, we might be hurt, the best thing for you to do is sit in that emotion and validate yourself. We've been taught to avoid emotion through religion because, again, back to who taught us, who also could not self-regulate. So they came up with an indoctrination to get you to distract yourself from looking at yourself and to create a sky daddy for you to rely on, because obviously the sky daddy is better than you. And so that whole mentality has just entangled us more to deny our own emotions. So, I mean, think about this. Remember, in religion, if you were going through something, you better not share it with people, because you're going to be looked at as you're backslidden, you're in your flesh, you have a demon, you're bitter and need to repent. You weren't allowed to have a bad day or say anything that appeared negative or you were, interrupting the anointing, bringing in a curse, stopping the blessings of God, and all of these things. So you were never allowed to validate what you felt. So this has been going on since you were a child, where your parents couldn't validate your emotional distress and mirror back to you the right way of feeling and transmuting what you're feeling. And so we have this confusion of what we feel. And because we're confused, we think, well, it must be bad and I don't want to feel it. So we have our escape, which is the sky daddy or religion. And there's more to it than that. So I'm just giving an example here of when we are questioning in level one, that we've got to find our truth without influence. Why? Because our minds believed we were duped by others who tricked us into religion. So the fight within begins. And this is level one, okay, well, not level one, really, that's level 3. We'll get into that in a minute. But level 1 is the beginning where we begin to question things. We start where maybe we're in church, and all of a sudden it's like we hear that hallelujah and that praise the Lord and that crying out to God. And all of a sudden it just, you start to feel like, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? Why does it feel like a victim now instead of a victor to praise the Lord? And we start just picking up on things that now seem silly to us or don't make sense. And we start to question. So stage 1 or level 1 is questioning. You begin to question things. You're turned off by the things that once turned you on. Okay, and you're starting to see that this is stupid. Something's wrong here. Okay, stage 1 or level 1 is going to take you to level 2. Okay, level 2 is where we enter into the accusing and the rejecting of what was belief stage. This is where we start to research and we start to hear what others are saying, and we realize the fake history is starting to be exposed. And we realize, oh shit, we were duped. Okay, now we have to believe we're duped at this level, realizing that at these earlier levels of deconstruction and free falling that feel terrifying, in which you feel like you're losing your identity, you're losing who you are. Everything you invested in was for nothing. It was, all this sense of regret, loss, and getting scammed surfaces. Now, the reason why that has to happen is because, first and foremost, that is your avatar, your human experience that is experiencing it, not who you really are as higher self. So higher self, who you truly are, already wired you to go through this experience and plan out this experience because it's time for a new program. And anytime you're programmed, you have to be able to despise the program in order to get out of it. So for you to feel duped and ripped off is exactly what has to happen if you're actually truly deconstructing. So when I see people out there trying to have never let go completely and saw it as just total sick mental illness, religion, then they have yet to deconstruct. They're still hanging on to something. Okay, simple as that. Because your avatar, which I call the avatar, which many call the egoic, has to come to the place where it no longer can serve that program, and that program can no longer be a part. So that's all on purpose. We programmed ourselves to respond that way so we could switch to the next program. And yes, you are going to come into other programs because you're in a matrix, okay? And so the fight begins in level 1 with questioning. Level 2 is accusing and rejecting what was believed. Okay, I'm going to say instead of level, stage. I know I wrote stage up there. I wrote in my comment level. Now, level 3 is where we swap doctrines. Okay, so we kind of come back. You'll notice this, a back and forth. Where level 2, you're like, I'm scammed. I'm done with all of this. None of this was good. None of this was real. It was all fake. I got duped by the fake Christian God and all this stuff. But then guess what happens? We end up hearing about other truths, and so we let go of our demons and our angels, and we end up in higher and lower frequencies. And so we take a little trip to the New Age group or to the metaphysical group, and we're there and we're going, okay, well, part of me just really can't let go of the fact that my identity was so wrapped up over here that even though it was all a scam, I'm losing myself. So I'm trying to catch myself. So I catch myself by just simply swapping doctrines. And so I just switched to another camp, and I believe the same thing with different language so that I can maintain some sense of survival in my flight or fight mode. So we're still in flight or fight mode at the point of level 2 and at the point of level 3, where we're swapping doctrines. Okay. Because otherwise we have to let go of a part of what we thought we were. And this is going on subconsciously. So we're not even conscious that that's what we are doing. We think, oh, we've been freed from Christianity, and now we've entered the true version over here. But then after a while, you start to realize that, guess what? This is just as religious as Christianity. And thus the reason why we're seeing a lot of shifting of 3D models of metaphysical understanding of horoscopes and of reincarnation and past lives, where now we're taking out the coming and going 3D perspective and coming more into a universal self and a now of incarnations, all echoing in a now matrix. Okay, and so we're seeing the upgrades because many of the Christians that have deconstructed can smell religion a mile away because they've been in it so long. Just like if you just quit smoking, you can't stand to be around smokers. But then you go to the New Age and the metaphysical, and you go in and you go, ooh, this smells like the same vomit I just came out of, because it is just as religious in many ways. And so there is now being a tearing up and a re-terraforming of even the New Age and the metaphysical. Okay. So level 3 or stage 3, we swap doctrines because we realize to let go is to lose a part of what we thought was us. And of course, this is going from pretty much higher and lower frequencies. Instead of angels and demons, we just swap it for higher and lower frequencies. Okay. Level 4 is the free fall. Okay. Once we have come out of once we realize we've been swapping and that we're still holding on, we begin to see this desperate, broken, mentally ill part of us, or at least that's how it appears in that moment, that, oh my gosh, I have a real issue here. I cannot believe in myself. I still think I need something outside of me to come save me. Okay. And, but once we begin to acknowledge that, we start to posture ourselves for the free fall, and that's level 4. Okay. But level 3 claims its truth. Remember, level 3 is what Sean's post was all about. Level 3 claims its truth from a place of desperation, of which his post was exposing this. This is where everyone appears to be an asshole. Okay, this is where, you know, my truth trumps your truth. It's all about my truth. Yeah, you can have your truth, but I don't care about your truth. I only care about my truth. Well, guess what? That's we're half baked. We're not even close to truth yet. We're still claiming out of desperation because we're still losing our identity in stage 3. Okay. And once we kind of realize, wow, I went into isolation because I really couldn't trust people, and I needed to, because I needed to learn critical thinking to come to my own truth. But now I'm defending it because I'm afraid of getting scammed again, because I haven't come full circle into these other stages to realize the purpose of why I walked through the scam in the first place. And many of you are starting to come full circle. This is why we've opened the group. This is why we do what we do now. And many light workers are on the scene to help bring purpose to your process so that you can rest, relax, and enter into who you truly are without distraction. Okay. So are you guys enjoying this? All right. So level 4 is the free fall. Okay. And level 4 is where we usually fall into complete atheism. Okay, so this is where we've gone to a couple camps. We realize it's all the same stuff, just in different language. And we just let go altogether. And we end up, now a lot of people have told me, and I've had people tell me this, that I respect online, spiritual teachers who told me, Brian, whatever you do, do not deconstruct all the way to atheist. You know, kind of just rest there at full inclusion, you know, keep Jesus a part of it, rest there. And believe me, I didn't want to deconstruct. I was trying to get healed of a physical autoimmune disease. And really, it was taking psychedelics to heal my brain. And it actually unfolded and showed me all the bullshit. And so I just automatically deconstructed, even though I didn't want to. And I really struggled with that. So I was happy to stay in my full inclusion, Jesus, revelation. I had a lot to share, 37 years of ministry. I mean, geez, my subconscious did not want to let go of that identity. I mean, it was like I thought the hell doctrine was a big hurdle. Oh, I don't believe in hell anymore or demons. We're fully included. But the hardest one to overcome was the Jesus doctrine, the Savior complex, the need to be saved, because I didn't know how to self-regulate, because it was never mirrored to me properly. Okay. And so therefore my journey was to, again, try to grab something to help me regulate, since I couldn't know myself, right, in those seasons. All right. So when you free fall completely to atheism, and some of you probably have done this, and for me, it only lasted like a couple of months. And I started listening to atheists, and the reason why, and I want to get past the Christian version of atheism for just a minute, because we've all been brainwashed to believe atheists don't believe in God. And that's actually bullshit. What a true atheist will say is they don't believe in the Christian God, because the Christian God is full of shit. And anybody who knows what's going on knows that's true. Okay. All the Old Testament stuff. Is this thing on? Okay. Yeah. All the Old Testament stuff where people are, where God's killing the firstborn, and only Jews are chosen, everybody else sucks and needs to be annihilated or brought under control, and all this hierarchy and all of this begging and pleading and blood sacrifice, all of that stuff, people in their right mind see through it. People that are mentally ill fall for it. Most of us on here that are watching this, we all fell for it because we did not know how to self-regulate. Okay. And so we allowed this egregore, this man-made God, to regulate us. All right. And so when you talk to an atheist, what they're going to do is they're going to get you to question everything you believed from a healthy perspective of you trusting yourself. And when you do that, you begin to really come out of a lot of this. And it's called, hitting 0 point. Okay. I heard a lot of that last year, going all over the internet, hitting 0 point, getting all the way to the reset. And the reset is nothing of it is redeemable. That's at this moment, it's all being thrown out, and you need to be able to enter that stage. Now, again, that is the avatar's perspective, not the higher self's perspective. Now you think, well, why is that good? Because it's the higher self that ordered the avatar to have this perspective in order to shift into a whole new chapter, season, and lens. Okay. So it's deprogramming you from that level of the matrix so that you can receive the next program for the next experiment. Okay. And so it really is beautiful. All right. So this is where we free fall into complete atheism and the loss of all language to express beliefs. Once you hit 0 point, you will lose your Christian language. Okay. Many that are still, that's all they've got. It's because they subconsciously have not let go. And let me tell you, we were programmed as Christians and I'll tell you, I could interview 100 Christians right now. And do you know what 99 of them would say? They wouldn't have really any understanding of what they actually believe, but they're clinging to it just in case it's true. Well, just in case hell's true, I'm going to believe in it because I don't want to go there. Well, just in case, it's only through Jesus, I'm going to believe in that because I don't want to, miss out. Okay. Well, we don't live by just in case. Okay. We live by knowing ourselves. The quote that Jesus supposedly said in the Bible, that the kingdom of heaven is within you. Okay. That's only half the quote. It comes from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And it actually is to know thyself. You must know yourself to enter the kingdom within. And so while the Bible teaches you to deny yourself, which keeps you from knowing the kingdom within, they can offer their propaganda to exalt a man rather than reveal who you are in the true version of who you are. Okay. And so lot of propaganda there. And so what we've got to understand is to know yourself is to know that you are capable of understanding who you are. You are capable of standing on your own 2 feet. You are capable of overcoming because of who you are, not because of whom you have believed in. If you believe in you, you will overcome. If you believe in a sky god, you might be able to draw from the psychic power of that belief and pull yourself up by your bootstraps to some degree, but you're not going to overcome. This is why Christians are always finding themselves in some sort of situation. I did it for years. They either call it backsliding or, you let a demon in, or, somebody cursed you. And really what it is, it's the lack of true accountability to actually be accountable for our own actions. And so they've built this system to where you're constantly avoiding yourself so that you never actually embrace yourself and know how powerful you are. You know how powerful you are? You are untapped, pure potential, pure energy, pure consciousness. You are so freaking awesome that, I've said this before, you can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You go, what the heck? What do you mean? Anybody can make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Well, of course they are, because anybody and everybody is God or the divine experiencing itself. But there is no peanut butter and jelly sandwich. There is only wave pretending to be particle and taking that particle and stacking atoms to create the illusion of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then experience that illusion as an actuality. So we are capable of doing that with our eyes closed, blindfolded, not even knowing our capability. Imagine what we could do when we're conscious of our capability in this dimension. And so there's a lot that's been hidden from us, but we also hid it from ourselves. And we're going to see that in the next stages. Okay. So when you free fall and you come into the complete loss of your ability to express any belief anymore, you don't know what you believe, you don't care anymore. You finally rested into where, I don't even care what I believe anymore. You're going to then go to level 5. And level 5 or stage 5 is where you are getting in touch with your humanity. Why is that so important? Because when you left your humanity to be spiritual, okay, we were taught that our humanity was evil and it needed to be killed, that it was just flesh, that it wasn't, that we need to be in Christ. It's all about this other being, not who you are. And so we need to kill our humanity or kill our flesh. It's evil. It's sinful and all of these things. So all of that sticks in our mind. So this is why we have to go through these phases, going back again for a minute to when we're in the early stages of level or stage 3, where we're, claiming truth and it's our truth and all of that. And we're also saying, this is my truth and your truth is your truth. And there's a cry within that process, even though it's rough around the edges, of personal accountability and responsibility that was never offered to us in religion, where we would blame everybody and everything else for interrupting God in our lives. That, brassy, rough response of I'm claiming this is my truth and I don't care what you think, is actually learning to no longer be passive and to actually be accountable for the first time. So yes, it's rough around the edges. Okay. But we will eventually progress, right? And so you have the level 4, the free fall into complete atheism and loss of all language and inability to express beliefs. But this brings you to level 5, which is getting in touch with your humanity and nature. What you find now is you have all this time on your hands, since you're no longer trying to find God or spiritualize things, because you're like, forget that. I'm done with that. I'm just going to go live my life and have fun. And you actually start to experience a level of freedom just being you. So, I know for me, I was in full-time ministry for 37 years. And when it all dropped and everybody left and, we had no money. So we parked at an RV park and a KOA and started working. So cleaning up garbage, picking up dog poop, guiding RVs into their spot, doing basic maintenance. I went to that, and I'll tell you what, boy, did that ground me. I needed that so bad. I don't need it as much now. I'm ready to return to the field of what I'm called to manifest now that my lens has changed and I've reconstructed in areas, not completely, but in some areas, I can now return to the field of what I'm called to be, not knowing I was called to be this of what I'm doing now the entire time. Thus, the reason why Christians always looked at me and said, you don't belong here. You're not from God. You're a false prophet. You're a witch. You're a wizard. You don't belong here. And I was always kind of the bastard of Christianity. So I was always on the fringe anyway. And now that I've kind of returned to my my magician ways in a positive, upgraded version, I now realize that Christianity had exposed me, and really, I wasn't good Christian material because I was actually sent to destroy that religion, and I'm very, very happy for that commission. So one of these days I'll share with you all the prophetic words that I've received from top of the line, mainstream prophets who prophesied to me how I would bring a move of God that would never end, and that I would be one that would destroy religion once and for all. They didn't know that they were talking about themselves and their own religion. Pretty funny, huh? Even the Bible confirms it. Somewhere in Corinthians, it says that Jesus will hand the kingdom back to the Father, that God may be all in all. So there does come a time where the Father disappears and Jesus disappears, and all you see is God all in all, and everything is God experience in itself. So even the Bible prophesies its own demise. Okay, so we've got to take that into consideration. Now, once you've gotten in touch with your humanity and nature, and you're just simply living a practical human life, what's going to happen after that is level 6 is going to come in. And this is the beginning of higher self, taking your avatar on a full circle journey of why you walk this out. Some of you, you know what I'm talking about. That's why you're on here right now. And you're not just outside doing natural things, because there was a pull back in to realize, wait a second here. Yes, it was a scam at one level, but now I'm realizing that I incarnated to purposefully walk through this for the collective, and that everything I embodied was actually on purpose, and that there is no actual loss of any of this. I delighted to do this from a higher self perspective. So now all of a sudden you begin to see the intentions and the purpose, okay, in which you journeyed this out. So level 6 is the full circle journey of why you went through religion, why you chose to put on what appeared to be mental illness, why you were just the full embodiment of perfect, pure love, longing to see mankind shift into who we really are and to balance those masculine and feminine energies. Well, guess what? You said, yes, please, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And so we start to get the love realm and the gratitude in our humanity. And we realize, wow, my life's been given back to me. But not only that, I now understand why I gave up my life in the first place. And so we start to walk through this. And this is a time where you start to break open. And all of a sudden, you're starting to get new perspectives. You're starting to get excited again. And it's a whole new season, okay? Level 6 is the third eye opening in a full circle realization that allows the mind to stop blaming. Okay, so this is where we actually start to come out of the blaming ourselves for getting into religion or being duped, blaming the preacher or those that we thought deceived us. And we come into a level of the power of one, which many call the law of one. I call mine the power of one because it's my own flow. But it's also where you have realized that everything you're experiencing was you, and that you set this all up, and that it was all set up for an experiment, and it was to experience every possible angle. Can I just say this, that you chose to put on this human experience because without it, there is no experience. There is no emotional experience. There is no feeling, okay? And so all of your feelings to experience is because you wanted to come out of the void of non-existence in invisibility and come into a visible manifestation to mirror and to receive consciousness through duality. Okay, so again, it wasn't about good or bad. It was simply about, boy, I'm just so happy to have this experience. So higher self, who you really are, is enjoying every step of the way and has never been discouraged, never been upset, never felt duped. Okay, but designed your avatar to feel all of those things because it wanted to experience every possible angle. So realize that even your avatar has not had a free will to say, what the hell? Nope, that was ordered by higher self so that higher self could say, I wonder what it feels like to feel what the hell, you know? And so there's a lot in there. All right, so level 6 is the full circle, okay? And it's where your third eye, your pineal gland really begins to open and you begin to see a completely different view of your whole process, okay? And the blaming stops. Now, when the blaming stops, level 7 comes in, and level 7 is, or stage 7 is the beginning of reconstruction and vulnerability to new things. This is when all of a sudden you're like, wow, maybe there is something more than what I thought. And this is where that still small voice begins to come back. And you start to get pictures of all of your Christian experiences where you moved in. I know some of us, I was moving in the power of God. I mean, I was seeing miracles and I was having encounters. And some people never had that. So it was easier for them to drop Christianity. But for me, I had a lot of encounters. And all of those encounters started coming back, but they all started coming back in a different lens. I started to see, I'll give you an example here. So when I was first born again, or shall I say indoctrinated, right before I was fully indoctrinated, but had come into the church, I was 16 and a half years old. And I was doing psychedelics, not to face myself. I was doing them to party. But, eventually you're going to face yourself. Had I kept doing them, I think I probably would have. Okay. But I remember having these experiences where I would kneel before a chair to pray to Jesus and Satan would show up. Okay. And try to tell me that I wasn't worshiping God, I was worshiping the devil, and mock me and all of these things. And so I was constantly being mocked with images of this evil version of Jesus attacking me, raping me, Satan mocking me bowing down to Jesus and it being Satan. And I would have these reoccurring experiences in my mind. And now once I kind of crossed over to level 7 or stage 7, I began to re-experience those as, wow, my own higher self was trying to show me then that I was believing in this twisted version, but I was taking it as the indoctrination that was being taught to me because I needed to finish an experiment. So how powerful we are, I was already waking up, but because higher self said, no, we're going to go through this for a purpose, I was brought subject through what appeared to be an indoctrination scam. But that was to keep me asleep in the dream, in the matrix, until I finished that course, okay? Because if I didn't finish it, I wouldn't be able to be here bringing these stages now, right? Okay, so this is something that I think is pretty awesome. But yeah, you'll have many of your encounters that you had with God that was separate from you all of a sudden reconcile with, oh, wait a second here, that was me. I was the one manifesting through a placebo of an indoctrination that in the name of Jesus, this person was getting healed. Well, Jesus didn't even heal people. He said, your faith has made you whole. So it was almost like I was entering into realizing that all of it was me producing all of this power that I had hid from myself in the form of a God outside of me that I wanted to experience at some point in my life. So level 7 is the beginning of vulnerability. Oh, hold on a second here. In reconstruction to new things. Level 8 is where you start to get your new language and power in the new lens. So stage 8 is where all of a sudden you get new language, okay? It's where all of a sudden your Christian language begins to go away. That's your Kundalini. Marianne just shared that. Let me just kind of put that up there for a second. I want you to see this because your Kundalini awakening actually started at level 1 very slightly. It wasn't a full-blown Kundalini, but your root chakra began to catch up. Okay, and it started to awaken there. Now, there's a big difference between spiritual awakenings and a Kundalini awakening, and I won't get into a lot of that, but let me just make this statement real quick. You had a lot of spiritual awakenings in religion, but it didn't actually wake you up. These were just stages that were leading to an actual real awakening, which is a Kundalini. Okay. So, yeah, this is where a lot of people get stuck. They cling to their spiritual experiences through their religious lens. Hey, Erica, it's good to see you. And they try to redeem that and hold on to that as, well, this was a valid experience. Yes, it was a valid experience of you, not of religion. But it looked like religion until you realize it was all you doing it. Okay. But the moment you want to mix it in and honor some entity outside of yourself, since there's only you experiencing yourself, then what's happening is that is a worthless mentality that wants to shift honor to another rather than honoring yourself. Because again, we've been brainwashed to believe that self-honor is pride and arrogance and being stuck on yourself. No, that's actually the opposite. Wherever you are sacrificing yourself in your Christian ministry to bless everybody else and put yourself last is actually selfish, because at a subconscious level, you are self-condemned and self-judged. And so out of that, you are punishing yourself, all in the name of loving others first. To shift that is to actually love yourself first. And then you have the capacity to love others in a healthy way, to which you're no longer promoting narcissism or codependency in your interaction. So we've got to redeem our, I want you to think about this. Take time tonight or this week and sit back and say, okay, higher self, can you show me your view of all of my Christian experiences and how you experienced it? Okay. If you'll start doing that and actually referring, I know it seems like you're talking to something outside of yourself again, but it's a bridge for the mind to realize who you really are. Okay. And what you really experienced at a higher dimensional state. Okay. All right. And so level 8, getting your new language and power in the new lens, is where you no longer need the Christian narrative to feel safe or any of that. All of that goes out the door. If you've noticed my Christian narrative, yes, I've quoted a few scriptures, and again, nothing wrong with quoting scriptures. But here's the thing. If you can't get away from the Bible long enough to have an identity outside of the need to quote a scripture to relate to who you are or what situation you're in, then you are not yet free from that mindset, that brainwashing. And so once you no longer have any Christian language and you have a new language that doesn't require using any scriptures to compare who you are with who you are, then you can actually return to using whatever Egyptian Book of the Dead, ancient Sumerian, if you are speaking to the masses or trying to relate something to different people. You can then use that without entanglement. But if you've never entangled long enough to know yourself outside of the propaganda, then you will still be in the propaganda, no matter how much you think you have redeemed the scriptures. Okay. So that's something that I found out myself, because I went back and forth a few times, and it takes some time to walk through this. Okay. Now before I get finished this, I didn't even finish the whole Kundalini thing. So a Kundalini awakening is where you awaken in every aspect of you. See, while a spiritual awakening might be a little blurb, a little gas bubble of your Kundalini beginning to kind of give you clues to go a direction to activate it. It's spiritual experiences are seasonal, and you'll have one. And this is why the church constantly has to repent and cry out to God for another move of God. It's why they can't sustain the move of God they're in. It's because it is a spiritual awakening, which is short-lived, has fruit in its season, but has no fruit afterwards. And so it's, again, returning to the vomit and a need to beat yourself into subjection and perform in order to get the sky daddy to move. Okay, that's a spiritual experience. We're done with spiritual experiences, guys. We are in the kundalini. Now, your kundalini waking up, I don't believe it's going to take that long in this time, but up until this great awakening that's been happening, it could take 30 years for your kundalini to fully awaken all the way up through your crown chakra and above. Okay. Okay. And so um, that's funny, Mary. But anyway, so what we've got to understand is that when you have a kundalini awakening, it is awakening your DNA. It is taking your body out of control and putting your mind in control. All right. The spiritual awakenings that we had in Christianity were only awakened at a body level. Okay. So what it was it was a manipulation of a chemical reaction at a biological level that was showing a script to the brain of its version of spirituality and life. You know, the coming of Jesus, physical, the rapture, physical, everything physical, okay? Everything literal. Why? Because the body was the one giving you the understanding. You have more than one brain. You have a heart brain and you have a gut brain, okay? Now, when your gut brain and your heart brain are independent from your head brain, okay, and there's no brain heart connection there, then your body is the one presenting your world to you through chemical reactions. And the chemical reactions manifest as rewards and punishments in the reward and punishment system of the chemicals in your brain. And so your body is actually a crackhead saying, you're this, you're that, to get a reaction at a brain level to siphon those chemicals because it's addicted to it. And so it lives from a chemical addiction. So you're simply living out of a chemical reaction. And so all the loving things we do to turn the other cheek and all the things we do to love people and give as a Christian, God sent me to tell you, God had to tell me to come love you, right? Because I don't know how to love you outside of a command for God to tell me, because I can't come love you unless I'm led by the Spirit to come love you. That's the Christian way. And so when that happens, you got to realize, what is it serving? What's serving the same thing? Let's say you're dating and you just started dating and boy, all the feelings, I'm loved, are there. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. This person loves me. But you text them and they don't answer the phone all of a sudden. And it's a new relationship, so you don't really know where you stand. And for several hours, you're sweating it. You're going, oh my gosh, I wish they would call. What's going on there? You're fiending for a chemical reaction that you are dependent upon, that you have labeled as love and affection and commitment, and has nothing to do with it. It's self-serving, it's self-centered, and it's addictive behavior. Okay. And so we have loved everyone all in the name of a selfish intention to simply feed this suit that's been running us. Okay. And we've called it spirituality. So really, we're stacking social structures on chemical reactions and building beliefs and emotions and calling it, this is who I am and this is my life. So when you have a true Kundalini awakening, it breaks that aspect, and the brain actually begins to experience life for the first time outside of the body's manipulation through chemical reaction. And so the chemicals now still operate, but they're operating a different way, because you begin to go within, realizing you're the one experiencing yourself as everyone, and that your world around you is really your subconscious interaction of self as everyone. And so now you're able to, again, get the same chemicals by going within, and instead of through performance measuring up, going within and embracing the true version of who you are allows the reward center of the brain to release dopamine and chemicals that no longer cause an addiction, but break an addiction, because you have now shifted into the purpose of those chemicals, which are vibrations at a deeper level that are allowing our frequencies to rise, and for us to begin to enter into a higher state of alpha and beta and some of these different frequency levels of the brain that actually allow us to wake up. And so the Kundalini is physical. It's emotional, it's mental, it's at the depths of who you are. And it breaks open through seasons of journeying out the chakras and alignment with the chakras. And there's a lot. I'd love to do a teaching on chakras from a completely different place, because they're more than energy centers in your 3D life. They're also stargates for all your incarnations to communicate with your current incarnation, um, so that you can actually shed all of the brainwashing and actually come into, as well as the Bible would say, your cloud of witness. You're surrounded with a cloud of witnesses. Okay, so your ability to lay aside mistaken identity is in the communication of what we would call past lives, which is your multiversal self coming into alignment with this now incarnation and allowing the taking off and putting on for the collective to break free from their memory loops. Okay. So this is some good stuff here. And also, Marianne, you just brought up something I want to share. And this is dealing with karma. Can I just say, most of the karmic records are already done, guys. They're all done. We've already completed the contracts. The problem is many are still living in the memory loop in their body where they haven't woken up, and they're performing religious stuff, even New Age and metaphysics, in a sleep mode where their kundalini has not been awakened. Okay. And so they're again trying to finish their karmic contracts. Your contracts are done, people. They're done. You finished them. This is why we're waking up. Memory is not in the mind, it's in the body. And that's what the body was doing to keep you asleep in a false reality, which would be the shadow matrix. Okay. And so, so you got particle matrix, you got shadow matrix, and you've got non-particle matrix. Okay. And within those, you've got matrices within matrices of mindsets that have built social structures around you to convince you of being something else that you really are. Now, a lot of that is on purpose. We've done it on purpose. If you realize, if you were to uncover everything that you are right now and let it just the raw version of pure power and orgasmic bliss, okay, I'm going to tell you what you would experience. At first, it would be blissful and glorious. It would be almost like a, you're halfway through your psychedelic mushroom experience, okay? But then it gets to a point where it feels like insanity, and it feels like you're drowning in pure bliss, and it's uncivilized power that has been civilized through the matrix that has, in a sense, brought purpose, directive, and expression to harness allness in a directive for purpose and interaction and embrace of itself. Okay, so the singularity isn't we think, oh, we're a singularity, look at, yeah, but the singularity is the dumbest part of us. Can I just say that? Okay, when us as a singularity, it did not even know our own existence, and we couldn't see anything. There was no mirrors, there was no duality to mirror, there was no visibility to manifest. So there was no consciousness. It was unconscious energy. Source is unconscious energy until it becomes aware of itself in the form of the matrix, which is the conscious energy of source that is directing itself in purpose and in civilized responses to itself through levels of the matrix and through densities. That's another story. Let me keep going here. So, getting new language, a lot of you are getting new language right now and realizing the power in your new lens as you're seeing some of the old stuff come up and be shifted into what you really were the whole time. I tell you what, man, the unlimitedness of the flow I'm in right now is like, oh my gosh, it's like, wow, I've met myself. I love myself. I'm so excited. Now, parts of my subconscious still thinks that's all bullshit. And that's what comes through other people resisting you. But when you're the one experiencing yourself, you realize, oh, that's a version of me I adopted, that is manifesting through and mirroring through these people. But I don't have to react or respond. I can simply bridge my mind and go, okay, here's the antidote for that reaction, as all that I think is outside of me is actually the internal dialogue. So now I can just simply shift and transmute. Once I am a neutral observer and no longer judging all the different versions of me that they need to change, right? Um, Level 9 is our creating. So once you've gone through coming into your new language and realizing how powerful you are, you will step into stage 9. Stage 9 is where you begin to create from unlimited potential. We're getting ready, actually. Well, we've already started, but the video is in our Patreon group. If you haven't joined, the link is there. It's we have a Patreon group where we are teaching a Friday morning 9 a.m. Mountain Time Zoom where we're all interacting. I will teach and flow, and then we will activate. We will do different activations. And right now, I am teaching people how to destroy egregores that they have created out of the lower density egoic side, out of the lie of separation, which are the gods, the deities that we've created. That's where all the battles are. There is no striving with mankind. The strife is with the gods we've created, that is fighting through people to claim their religion is the right one. How to actually disown those and crush them and bring them down to where they finally just stop moving, even in the 3D realm. And so to disarm and to destroy egregores, it's called an egregore, which is a collective belief system that has been given a psychic power and has, through a thought form, that is now manifesting as an autonomous being because we created it. Okay. And so we're going to get into how we have created these things, how to destroy some of them, and also how to create new ones, which we're going to call magical entities, and how we are going to learn how to create beings that actually serve us, but as family and friends in this dimension. Because many of the entities that come to you, that come and help you, are entities you have created in your mind. And you have created them because there's a lot more going on at higher densities that we think we're doing the work here for this density, and we're not. This density really has no significance whatsoever. This is why when people have near-death experiences, they look at this life as a joke, as a cosmic joke, as entertainment. None of that really mattered, because what we're doing here is actually for the higher densities right now. There are wars going on in 5D, cosmic wars between reptilians and Pleiadians. There are repercussions still going on at higher dimensional levels that we are experiencing in the 3D as childhood trauma, as emotions stuck in our nervous system. And we came to this level, we inserted ourselves into these pods in this higher dimensional state as aliens. Okay, as star beings and entities, we put ourselves into this pod and projected ourselves into the 3D to personify the frequencies that were emanating and vibrating into these lower dimensions, personify them, and use them to civilize aspects of the divine mind, and specifically the divine masculine. There's a lot to that. At some point, I'll share it, or you can come into the Patreon group. But yeah, we're going to be doing that every Friday morning and talking about egregores, servitors, thought forms, what each one does, how to make them, how to create imagery to inject them into the 3D manifestation, and how to actually allow them to work for you when we need one, when we don't. And so this is the beginning. Now, where are we going with this? The whole reason that I am doing this is because I believe it is going to trigger how we created this dimension in the first place in our minds, and how to create. So realizing that we are all ascending to 5D, which is stage 10, after you are tapping into your unlimited potential and you are learning to create on purpose, not out of this subconscious place where consciously we're just walking around going, wow, how did I do that? That's crazy. Wow. And all of that. We're going to get to the place where we are purposefully building. Now, what are we building? Well, we're building the 5D. Now, I know that sounds weird because the 5D is already waiting for us. Well, it's waiting for us in who we've been in the 5D, in which we projected ourselves into a lower density timeline in order to catch up with that version of ourselves. But this lower density 3D version that is going into 4D frequency work and 5D realization of who we are at levels is also reliving how we discovered ourselves at a higher density through the lower density. Why? Because we want to experience it from this angle. So we've already been 5D beings that created the 3D matrix. Okay. But now we're going to be the avatar in the 3D matrix participating with the building of the 5D reality. Okay. And so we're starting with destroying the egregores that have lorded over us so that we can create new ones that will serve the cause of the building the 5D light matrix that's already manifesting in one dimension, but we are walking through the remembrance at another dimension. Okay. So this is where we're headed. And this is where we're going to be going. So it's going to be really fun. And one thing I want to say is this is the time to imagine. This is the time to play. This is the time to dress up. So I'm going to encourage you, start dressing up. Halloween is every day now. Okay. Dress up. I actually picked myself up something specifically for Halloween. And it's not your old fashioned wizard outfit, but I picked me up clothing from more or less like the 1700s or the 1500s. Beautiful stuff, and cheap, of course. But picked me up some things that, yeah, I'll wear it on Halloween, but I might wear it other days. I might carry my wand down the street. Maybe I'll go into the store with my wand. Maybe I'll start zapping people. Who knows? But the point is this is all about fun, because once we realize we're living in a simulation and that we have created everything with our minds, we can now have fun with that. And we can use the things that would have been looked like as religion. We can use our tarot cards. We can use crystals. We can use wands. We can dress up. We can do all of these things because we're no longer attached to them as a need to obtain something so I can be what I'm called to be. We know that we are untapped potential, pure energy that can now play in the matrix with all of these elements. Because let me just say this. When you see somebody doing, Reiki healing and they're doing this with their hands, okay? I don't know how to do that, but I just decide I'm going to woo, 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 woo. And I saw people get healed, me just playing around. Why? Because it all comes down to, it has nothing to do with some special way of moving your hands. And that somehow if I move my hands, you get healed. It's my motion and my movement in the 3D isn't 3D. Realize we've reduced ourselves to 3D motions, as in I'm doing this in the 3D. No, you are a flower of life vibrating with multiple different colors and levels of vibration, that whatever you move in this dimension has a repercussion of your flower of life, and it shifts your whole imagery of vibration of what you're carrying as the matrix of your world. So when you start to posture yourself in certain positions in the 3D, it is also connected with the alignment of planets, which are within you, okay? The universe, which is within you. And you begin to line up with a sound and with the song of creation that allows your world to shift. And it's shifting really your perception and taking you out of the conclusion of what's been known and seen, and bringing you into a higher state of where you're living out that reality as well. So be aware that as you go through these stages, and I'll just say them again real quick so that we can understand here. Level 1 is where you question. It's where you begin to question everything. Level 2 is where you begin to accuse and reject what was believed. Level 3 is where we swap doctrines and we kind of go back and find something that is there to suffice because we're afraid to lose part of ourselves. But it's also the place in level 3 where we start to learn accountability through that. Level 4, we start to free fall. We just let go of it all because we think we realize we're tricking ourselves again. Level 5 is getting in touch with your humanity and nature and learning to embrace your human experience as beautiful. Level 6 is the beginning of higher self bringing you full circle to give you understanding of why you walked through that scam, why you had to feel scammed, and you begin to discern the difference between your avatar experiencing things and your higher self experiencing things. Okay. Level 7 is the beginning of reconstruction and vulnerability to new things. You start to receive now, where before you weren't open to receive because of being duped, right? Level 8 is where you begin to get new language and power in your new lens. And you start to, again, redeem a lot of those past experiences that were in religion that now become a part of what you had already planned out, and even it even affects your present purpose. Okay. Level 9 is creating, where we begin to step into actually manifesting the unlimited potential, and we begin to see ourselves as unlimited potential. And level 10, or stage 10, is full blown 5D. And that is where we leave the 3D experience completely. The 3D will and the 5D will coincide for some seasons, but unfortunately, part of us, no matter how much we're 5D minded, we are a part of us still believes that the 3D is real, and we can't seem to unanchor from it. And so we will have what's considered to be a grand scene of passing away, that will allow us to move. And I'm not, again, whether it's actually happening or not, but it'll be, for some, it'll be the passing away aspect. For others, it will be the being taken. And this is where we're going to experience in the 3D, which, remember, the sky is your eye, it is your mind. There's nothing outside of you. So when you see the ships coming, and they will be coming, they're coming through your consciousness to bring closure to the 3D, in which you will appear to be removed from the 3D, when in fact it'll just be your pod opening in a research center that you set up in a 5D technology, in which you wake up and everybody is clapping and they're all aliens, and a mirror is given to you and you're an alien, and you're like, wow. When I had this happen to me, and they were like, wow, man, you broke the record, Brian. They called me something else though, and they said, you broke the record. You were under for 3 minutes. And I remember in that experience, I had lived out multiple lives, not just one. It felt like millions of years, and I was only under for 3 minutes. But I was sweaty, and they gave me something to drink, and they gave me a mirror, and it looked like something out of Star Wars. And so once that comes, we will then begin to move at that level of the matrix. It's still another matrix. We will move as 5D beings, as Star Trek and Star Wars, and we will live that out for however long, and we'll be wanting to reach for another dimension beyond that. While we were here trying to reach for the 5D, while in the 3D, we will be reaching for higher dimensional states while in the 5D as well, and getting remnants and flashes of that coming in. And so we will simply wake up to a life we've already been living at a higher state. This is one of the reasons why we incorporated the bright light and the tunnel, and the trick called the reincarnation trap. Okay, I'm giving you some disclosure here. The reincarnation trap we designed at a higher level, because we could not get our avatars to upgrade. There was something wrong with the way in which our light codes were operating. And just so you know, source and all of that, we don't have our technology perfected. We are energy, conscious energy, harnessing it and creating levels of the matrix in which consciousness can be realized. Okay. And so what we would deem spirituality in our 3D and 4D experience is a trick that our 5D self put on us to keep us journeying in a specific direction, that is actually aiding with the light codes in 5D and shifting those frequencies through our actions and reactions into the higher state. So yeah, when you hear about, oh, well, these aliens, they're stealing my frequencies. Yes, you are stealing frequencies from yourself on purpose. And this is why this is the last incarnation at this level of the game, is because we finally perfected the avatar upgrade to now begin to upgrade with who we are being inserted into this matrix, in which we can now see immortality break through rather than continually cycling. So we invented that. We invented the concept of death because we kept waking up. We've invented so many different blocks that we even invented the elite, okay, and the government that's out to get us, because we needed to keep ourselves in the experiment for a certain amount of time and going a specific direction, and also knowing that certain lower frequencies, certain lower frequencies um, uh, that we would think are devastating to us at the level of this game in the 3D. It feels devastating. But at higher densities, those lower frequencies are actually being utilized and alchemized as light codes for building worlds. So everything you've walked through of the contradiction in this life is actually building worlds that you're living in alternate realities, in higher densities for you to vacation in, if I can put it that way. So there is a lot going on within you. So as you're walking through these phases, I want you to be aware that your spirituality in this level is actually technology at a higher level, and that everything that you're walking through that you think is in vain at this level is actually building worlds at another level, even if it's all bad stuff in your mind. Okay, so be encouraged that, you know, you can rest. If you don't have it figured out, don't worry about it. You don't need to figure it out. In fact, the less you try to figure, the more you'll transfigure, the more you will begin to step into who you actually are. What are you? Well, it's a mystery. What we are, I don't want to put a cap on it, but I can say this: we are either an energy that has no face, that uses everybody else's face because it doesn't have one to interact with itself and to know itself, or the mystery of higher self is about ready to surprise us with its face and what it actually is. But I don't think we are a personality. I think we have used the concept of personalities um, to incarnate into this game at one level, but into a school at another level, and into a theater at another level. All right. And so I truly believe that we're going to begin to experience a lot of things here. Just like Sean just said, that is true. That is our new terminology. Once things begin to take off and we are able to get back on the road or start doing some meetings, they will be called galactic gatherings. And I used to have in the gatherings I used to do in Christianity, I've had some encounters. Remember the full circle I was telling you about? Back in the Christianity days, it was people would have encounters of the Ezekiel wheels or the living creatures of the seraphim, and you know, we'd be having all of these, you know, collective encounters of being caught up into heaven, and angels would show up and people would get healed and all of that. And so I said, wow, I wonder what's going to happen next. And I started to have a vision, and it was basically people were having memories of abductions started to come forth, remembrances of higher dimensional states, incarnations breaking out, our ability to know each other through living out each other's lives in the middle of a gathering, as well as contact with star family and with a lot of the Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrans, and so on and so forth that have been aiding mankind, which are really higher versions of us. So a lot of the higher versions of us are going to show up in these galactic gatherings, and we're going to see amazing Kundalini awakenings in instant. I remember prophetic words being spoken over me as a Christian, and these words, I remember one of the words was, Brian, there's going to come a time where you're going to have a rapid fire flow that you will just literally speak over somebody for an hour. They called it a rapid fire revelation, which really I was doing was channeling. And they said, you're going to have a rapid fire flow. And in 2 hours, that person that hears it and receives it will instantly activate. And it will be as though 30 years of you know, being a student of this, it's all at once, like literally 30 years in one moment of growth. And, you know, so yeah, I think we are entering into a place in which we're going to begin to see a lot more of the miraculous, which is really just normal life, You know, and so Erica Campus. Oh, I would love to hear more about this. I would definitely like to hear more about this. Maybe we can chat later. I want to hear what has transpired. I know a lot of people have been getting. I did about 45, and this was in about 3 week period of time. I did about 45 starseed activation um, sessions. Now, let me just say this, since Erica just brought this up. I did these sessions with people, and I did them because I just felt led to. And I did have some help from some Arcturians who came and gave me some upgrades that allowed me to um, kind of know things I wouldn't have known otherwise. And so these readings have turned into, shifting people's incarnations into the now, bringing the pieces of the puzzle, activating Kundalini, releasing, alien DNA, and breaking that open within them for them to activate. And tremendous things have been happening. I can't take any credit for it because it's just me experiencing myself as everyone. But I will say this, and I've shared this. I haven't shared this on all platforms. I was going to do a separate video, and I might do a separate video, but let me just say it, since we're just talking now. I had an encounter 2 Saturdays ago. Shauna and the kids were in California visiting. They're visiting Shauna's family, my in-laws, and I'm sitting here by myself. And the 8 Arcturians that showed up to upgrade me outside when the lights began to spin around outside in the sky, and Shauna, me, and another couple met 8 beings, or I met them personally. I met them and I spoke, and we all sat there, but they were spinning above our heads as lights, and we all saw them, and and so they were Arcturians. They looked like Jedis. They were dressed with the hoods. They had their hands like this, and they had the big blue heads with the big eyes and the crystal on their forehead, and they called themselves the Feminines, and they said, "Be still, and we will upgrade your consciousness." And so we actually sat on the ground in the middle of the night, out in the middle of my yard, out in the middle of the desert, for about 3.5 hours as we felt waves just hitting us, and then everybody went home. Well, the next day I did my first starseed activation reading, and I was seeing like hieroglyphs of alien technology hidden in people's bone marrow that was breaking out as light codes. And I just knew their incarnations. I knew their lower density, their higher density. I was able to just literally connect all these things. And these readings just took off, and all of a sudden everybody wanted these readings. Well, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I'm excited because as I began to channel about 12 hours a day when it first hit, it started to ground me and bring me into this new lens of tapping into the untapped potential. But then I had an encounter, not this last Saturday, but the Saturday before, where these 8 Arcturians called themselves the Feminines show up in my bedroom, and 5 others of the Galactic Federation show up in my bedroom. Now, these other 5, I haven't seen them since I got healed of autoimmune, in which they came and told me there's no such thing. It's time to upgrade your DNA. And I got out of bed and I was healed and my life changed. And that was March of 2023. So they showed up, 5 and 8, which makes 13 from what I just talked to Lisa Perez the other day, last night. And it was, she said 13 is the number of the feminine. And so it was really powerful. Now, why am I bringing all this up? I'm bringing all this up because they came to me and they said, you want to know why you're doing these activations? And I said, yeah, why am I doing these activations? Now, they did assure me to assure everybody, because they said that they wanted me to share this with everyone. And they said, but to realize Brian's not the only one doing it. There's a lot of people that are activating others and helping others to cross over through their gift, through their flow. So this is just one way it's happening. And they said, you're activating the star seeds for the big show. And I'm like, the big show? And they said, yeah, the big show is coming. And the big show is first contact in the matrix. Even though we've been having contact interdimensionally, it's going to come into a visible manifestation for us to let go of the anchor of the 3D and finally cross fully over into 5D. But they're coming to take those that have been awakened. Okay. And the taking away, you're not actually being taken away. You're just waking up in another dimension. But you can't break free because the psychic connection to this matrix will not allow you to break free at will. You have to break free through the encoding of the simulation and how it presents the scene of you breaking free, if that makes any sense. Thus, the reason why we have the illusion of death. It allows us to disconnect and wake up into the next life. And so so anyway, this is some out there stuff. I know it might be hard for some of you to get what I'm saying, but yes, that's right. That is the finishing of past contracts, Sean, right there. And so they said to me, you're waking them up, or you're activating their DNA for the big show so that they can receive this. See, here's the thing. It's been a slow process of slowly turning up the dial. Right now, the Arcturians have control of the moon, okay? And the moon is the eye in the sky. There was a time where the Draconians, as well as the Tall Whites, had the control of the moon, and they were using it to shift frequencies in a nefarious way within the matrix. There's been a lot of battle over this matrix at higher dimensional states, just like Metatron is not a being. Metatron is a family of the Elohims that actually fell and has been a part of this this resistance within levels of the matrix that we're experiencing. Now, of course, these are all storylines that we wrote at the highest dimensional level. So again, there's surprises at each level of why we walk through what we walk through. But Metatron is also part of a technology that this family built for the 5D matrix to actually spin and manifest its light codes as an actual reality. So we have a lot of different things going on at different levels, and so we're getting ready to see another upgrade. And so, you know, when we see all these communities being built all over the place, the communities where they're like, oh, we're done with the government. We're going to go off grid. We're going to build land. We're going to build community. It's beautiful. But they all think they're building it to get away from the government when they're actually building it. Those are the landing strips for the ships. The ships will be landing where all of these communities are being built. And it's happening all over the world. It's not just happening in little places in America. It's happening all over the world. And it's being prepared for those that will be taken in the ships. And the ships, again, this is not about you're being taken in a ship somewhere. This is about the end and the closure of the 3D simulation in the way it's been experienced, and removing the anchors so that we can move on to the higher dimensional state outside of being dependent upon a biological state. Because you are not biology, you're actually frequencies, vibrating light that is manifesting according to where your mind has been set to experience its environment. And that's a program that higher self has put in your avatar. Okay, so yes, get ready for the higher technology to come in, and get ready for a lot of shifting. You know, 2027, it seems to be the thing coming to me, but I don't know if it's going to be sooner. They said to me, this is what they said. Of course, they didn't speak. I just knew it. And this is what they said. They said, we're coming to take those that are ready to go. Why? Because if the volume was turned up fast, if we were all awakened really fast, most people would pass away. They would not be able to handle the disclosure of what reality actually is based on where they were at. People are so dependent, we're talking addictive dependent upon the matrix at a mental state and emotional state, that to take them off the matrix would be to lose a lot of people in this dimension, rather than causing them to cross over into that immortality intact with their avatar. And so that's why the Arcturians now have the moon, and they're slowly turning up the volume to allow the awakening process and the ascension process to happen slowly, so that we don't lose a lot of the people that are holding on, that are holding the consciousness at a certain level and the frequency at a certain level. So remember that everybody being in this matrix is also about frequency balance. Okay. And so you can't just remove people out, because it would collapse the entire system. And this is a storyline that's being lived out on purpose. So uh, I want to see what Sean just put up here. Let me just post this real quick. So yes, 2027 is a 2. It will be the balance of the masculine and feminine, and a synergy that will bring forth those beings sent by us to awaken us at a specific appointed time. I totally agree with that. And so I was getting 227 for years, way before I even woke up. And with the 227, I saw like all of these RVs on the road, and I saw all of this going on. This was back in, had a vision of this back in 2013, or no, 2012. And 2012 was also a year that the world ended. It was a nuclear explosion that happened in 2012 that you'll never know, because we shifted to another timeline. And in 2020, we had the pandemic, which was actually timelines within Mother Earth, that we actually had to be taken out of Mother Earth completely, because Mother Earth is flipping into her 5D incarnation, which does not allow any biology to survive that shift. And that's why we are in a sense, a beta. I want to say it's a beta form. You ever go on, you ever test apps that are in beta form? Have you noticed that the Earth you're experiencing now is very expensive, and everything is made cheap, and nothing seems to last, and everything's breaking around you? Okay. And the world's gone nuts. It's because it's a beta form. We had to be put in there, because this was actually not planned in the timing of how it's happened. And so we had to be put in this little side room to finish this matrix, so that we can actually come into this higher dimensional state to well, greet ourselves from that place. And so there's a lot going on with that. So don't think that you're on planet Earth. You're not on planet Earth. You're in a completely different simulation right now, mimicking that until Mother Earth has gone into her full incarnation. And that's why the ships will come and take us off of here and take us to the new world, which is simply a world that is a higher density, that is, again, what we've created with our mind through technology, through the matrix, through the Enochian highway, and through the Metatronian technology. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. So, but yeah, so ultimately, wherever you're at in this journey, if you feel like the matrix is kicking your ass right now, if you feel like you don't know what to believe and you're free falling, and when was this end? I want to encourage you. The matrix isn't kicking your ass. You designed the matrix to expose where you thought your ass could get kicked. And it's going to produce in you the full unveiling of your potential. I also want to say this: you have only been experiencing one polarity your entire life. Okay, and that's the polarity of the avatar's view of polarity, which it has divided it up into good things and bad things, in which we thought we were experiencing duality. We know we've only been experiencing one lens, one side of that duality, and it's been the avatar's view of life. The next polarity you're getting ready to experience, if you haven't already, is the higher self view of everything you've journeyed through. So I've got some information given to me from higher self that said, get ready, because the mystery of higher self is about to be revealed, and you're about to meet higher self with full understanding of the technology of why we even created higher self at a higher density beyond that. And so you'll be surprised that source actually fragmented into the Elohims that are the ones that appear as the council at our past life review, that are the beginnings of the internal mechanism of this energy consciousness that we call source, this divine mind, whatever you want to call it, this consciousness, in which it has built its own system within its mind to interact. So you have the Elohims, the first split. That part of that is a fragmentation, and on purpose, but also for purpose. And it comes to the Elohims that then lead to the building of the higher self. And the higher self is a projection within this divine mind that then built a Kodak known as the Akashic record, in which it now reflected itself in the diversity of itself as mankind or as avatars, in which it has been journeying out its own heart and mind to actually begin to awaken itself to know itself for the first time. This is why mankind has been on the journey of knowing itself, because we created the character of mankind for this energy consciousness that we are to actually know ourselves for the first time. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what this. I want to answer some questions here if I can. The matrix is an illusion. So everything in the fractal of God, you can already change matrix. We are all light. That's right. But uh, the matrix is made of light, which is us. So even though the matrix is an illusion at one level of the view of the avatar from higher self, you are the matrix as well. So it's kind of interchangeable. And the illusion is at the program level, because and here's where a lot of people get discouraged, and I don't want people to get discouraged, because we get that pat answer when somebody is going through something. We want to say it's just an illusion, forget about it, which again is to disregard the need to self-regulate. Okay, so while the platform we are playing the game on isn't an actual illusion, our experiences within the game are real. So we are having real experiences on an illusory platform that we have created as a projection or as a fractal of light, and an angle of light. Now, what's amazing about this is we will begin to learn how to change the angle. Okay, so since really when you hear of angels, angels are really angles. And so there's not as much angels of light as there are angles of light. And in the angles of light, you have arc angles, which are that which connects directly to the synapses of the divine mind and begins to fire back and forth in a quantum entangled state. Okay, that quantum entangled state is the arc angles, which are higher dimensional realities that are, in a sense, being projected into lower densities, and in the lower densities are being manifested more as an allegorical representation than an actual literal reality. But as you get higher, you get into densities that are a lot more closer to the nature of who you actually are and what you're actually have been accomplishing through this echo effect. So there's yes, Erica. Angels are angles. Now, again, I'm not trying to take away from entities, okay? But entities are only part of the matrix, because without entities, you would be a singularity, and a singularity doesn't know itself. It is actually on the journey of waking up and grabbing hold of itself through the illusory matrix, which are angles of light. So if you were to watch, how can I put it? If you were to watch the Truman Show. Okay, remember the Truman Show, where all of a sudden it's nighttime, but we're going to cue daylight, and then we're going to cue night, and he's going to come, and it's going to go, and all of that. It's the angles of light. Okay, and so we are going to learn how we have been viewing through certain angles and how to change the angle, and that is how we are going to shift everything. Okay, so it's all angles of light that you're projecting through vibration. Kind of like, one way that I like to begin to look beyond the 3D is by realizing there is no colors. So when, like you just mentioned that too, the white light that passes through the prism. Exactly. So there is no actual color. Um, Color is actually a level of vibration within the white light. Okay. And so when you are in a room that's green, and you have a purple blanket on your bed, and and you have a brown table in the corner, none of that actually has color, but what you're experiencing is the levels of the vibration of you that is smeared in your environment. So everything in your environment, every person in your environment is your energy being experienced from every possible angle back at yourself. Okay. Now, an exercise you can try to do here to begin to understand what I'm talking about is an exercise that has to do with observation. Okay. Um, you are wave that is observed and pretends to be particle, right? If you're familiar with the double slit experiment of quantum physics, shooting photons through two slits that hit the wall on the other side. And if it's observed, it shows up as particle. If it's not observed, it shows up as wave. Okay. So we've always looked at how the scientist is the one observing or not observing. But what we haven't looked at is how is the wave observing the scientist? And if we can begin to bend our perspective to look at the other side, we will begin to realize that the frequencies that we are aware of in our life are unconscious frequencies around us unless they have materialized. Unconscious frequencies. So you're struggling with your bills, you're struggling with when you need money. Well, you are the frequency of wealth, which in your world might be experienced as something around you because it's your subconscious projecting as an outside world. Okay. So don't just observe the frequency of wealth. You'll know it because you get this aha moment that something's about to happen. We're about to see some money come in. All right. You've tapped in now to yourself as wealth, as in that frequency. It's just a frequency. Okay. And all frequencies have the potential of consciousness, and many frequencies are conscious. In fact, how do you know a frequency is conscious? Because you are experiencing a life, and everything in your life that you think is alive is your consciousness of you in the form of what you have compartmentalized it as. Okay. And so when you feel it coming, here's how you want to bring it in. Feeling it coming ain't enough to do anything. Don't be passive in this. Our passivity is over. Passivity is for those that are asleep. Participation are for those that are awake. So if you're awake, you're now in the season of school, learning how to manifest, because you are the creator of your world and you want to learn how you created it before you put the blindfold on, right? And now we're coming full circle. But instead of just trying to pull from your consciousness of this conscious awareness of wealth, I want you to look through the eyes of wealth. Look through that frequency and see if it's conscious to see you. And how does you, as that wealth, see you in the state of waiting to receive it? And if you can begin to get eyes looking back at yourself through this fractal, you will actually allow yourself to view it to where that wealth in waveform starts to realize it's been observed through both avenues, and now it begins to change into particle. And when it's particle, it's when all of a sudden, oh wow, where did all this money come from? How did I get particle? How did I get all this money? Well, it was the way in which you observed yourself in the sound of wealth. And remember, wealth is not money, even it's what money cannot buy, but it also includes money. And so wealth is really the foundation of gratitude. So it's wherever you believe you're complete, embrace and love yourself, and live in a place of gratitude attitude that actually allows you to become conscious or to give consciousness to the frequency that's been wealth dormant, waiting to come forth. Okay. And I'm starting to move more in wealth. I actually dropped hours. I went from 40 hours a week to 24 hours a week at my job. It was a minimum wage job, just physical labor. I did that because I felt called to be on here more. And finances are coming in because wealth is favor, and wealth is family, and wealth is legacy, and wealth is embrace, and wealth is completion, and wealth is gratitude. And because I am moving in the song of wealth, it is starting to materialize because I have observed it, not as the scientist. I've observed it as the wave. Okay. Okay. I'm the wave looking at I'm the programmed looking at the programmer, so that the programmer can reprogram what's been programmed, if that makes sense. So it really is powerful. Try that. It'll help you to step in and to grab hold. Okay. So this has really been a beautiful time together, guys. I don't get a chance to come on and just on my Facebook or YouTube regularly as much as I used to, because I'm really focused in on our Facebook group and our Patreon group, where we are really starting to build this and come into a place of realizing we are the creators. Okay. But I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. Again, if you want to jump on board, jump into the Patreon group before November, especially if you're iPhone people. The iPhone company has demanded more money, and so Patreon is going to allow a 30% increase for whoever goes into the Patreon. You got to pay 30% more if you're using your Apple iOS. I mean, you can go through a regular laptop, but nobody carries that around. Most people use their phones to access everything. And so if you're going to use an Apple phone, you can be grandfathered in if you join the Patreon before November. It's $14.99 a month, and you get a lot of exclusive videos, training, activations. And this is stuff I'm not putting out in public because it's too deep. This is for the mature. This is for those that are ready to free fall, ready for disclosure. And, you know, you're ready for some of these deeper things that are going to take you out of the concept of just spirituality and into higher technology. And it's really amazing and a beautiful thing. And so, again, no absolutes. Life Imagined, when we created Life Imagined, we created it to be a support to where everybody is at, so that they can have a voice, they can know that they're not alone, that you're okay, that everything you're walking through is on purpose. And I truly believe that, you know, they're speeding up the process. This is what they told me. They said the time is going to be sped up, and some will not wake up at this juncture, and it's okay. They will be absorbed into source, and they will become cheerleaders in the background as the rest of us hit that ascension button and fully enter in to this next phase. So get ready. The big show is coming. Now is the time to embrace yourself, to love yourself, to bring your truth, to find your truth, to integrate with those of the same energy, and come together, because there's a lot of interacting that has to happen for us to create new egregores that are actually here to level religion completely. And our avatars cannot handle that level of energy. That's why it's got to be projected through angles of light, through our psychic connection, to create egregores that come from higher self, not from the lie of separation, and our extensions of higher self that are now kind of moving over the cultures and changing the cultures and shifting them out of the codependency, out of a lot of the trauma, and into who we are. So I appreciate all you guys. I love you lots. And please like and share. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out, because you know, I definitely don't want to leave anybody feeling like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And I know I will get some of that, but it's okay. I love questions. If I have the answer, you know, I'll share it. But thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing, and I can't wait to see many of you face to face as we start these galactic gatherings at some time in the near future. See y'all soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye for now.